Thank you. Excellency, Honorable ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from Lumbini. Now is 6 o'clock, but in your continent maybe it's evening, isn't it? Here we are Sunday. So today is we are discussing the epidemics, or people call the COVID-19. So let us try to understand the reason why such serious problem happen on the planet. And then we also try to find possible solution and also try to understand the reason why such disease appear, but very high technology advances, but cannot solve problem. This is very interesting. And the proudness of the human being sometimes is to create a big problem for humanity. Humanity, we need so many things to help each other, unite each other to solve the problem. But the advanced, so-called advanced technology, people very proud. They think they can control everything. Our motherland, the planet, if we think carefully, is a miracle, wonderful. They give good air, earth, climate, and then the human being we destroy, and disturb each other, and so-called, and I'm very sorry to say, so-called advanced technology, scientific technology. And our earth is limited, but the people do not work together to utilize, we say, the gift of unseen hand, or the gift of God, of the Buddha. Think about more than 200 years advanced high technology, what we have seen. Many world wars, many conflicts happen, and the earth more and more destroy and create pollution. But people did not pay attention. So therefore, you see, think about more than 25 years, I have predict about this happen. And not many people pay attention. What we have seen. And every year, many advanced countries, they spend $billions to make the weapon, atomic, neutron bomb, and sophisticated. But even thus, many million people not enough food to eat. So this is the reason, even now. So today, we are very, very happy to welcome all of you. Let us think and let's work together and how we save planet. So we are very happy to welcome Divine Mother Human Audrey Kitagawa. The person, she also dedicate much for the peace and work well for planet. And you have a lot of experience in the United Nations. So we would like to invite you to share your opinion and give the good plan and to save planet and to solve the problem. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone from New York City, where it is now 8:20 p.m. on Saturday. My deepest appreciation to Venerable Thầy Huyền Diệu, Dr. Trung Quoc Lam, for this invitation to share with all of you this evening. Today, the topic of our discussion is the COVID-19 situation, which has created global disruption. It shut down economies, caused major illness and death, and social isolation for millions of people around the world. It has also exacerbated many of the social ills that were heightened For example, domestic abuse and violence against women have risen and gone up, as families often happens within families when they spend more time together. And now, with families in lockdown worldwide, hotlines all around the world were lighting up with abuse reports. The United Nations called for urgent action to combat the worldwide surge in domestic violence. I urge all governments to put women's safety first as they respond to the pandemic, said UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in a Twitter tweet. There are major discrepancies in medical treatment for people of color as well, and these social ills were highlighted by the pandemic. Although the coronavirus is an equal opportunity threat, the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately impacted people of color. The infection rates, hospitalizations, and deaths among Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and Indigenous people all around the world are at 2 to 5 times higher than among white populations. People of color who live in overcrowded conditions on the street or on reservations, have comorbidities, or perform essential jobs are more vulnerable to become infected. The social determinants of health that increase the risk of infection, hospitalization, and death among people of color include discrimination, historic racism, which led to inequities in healthcare, housing, education, the criminal justice, and economic stabilities. These inequities increase the risk of contracting the virus as well. In the United States, Asian hate crimes have risen significantly because of the language originally used by the former president, attributing blame for this pandemic on the Kung Fu virus, the Chinese virus, and he was warned that there would be consequences arising from such negative speech. Indeed, consequences have followed, and the Congress recently had to pass an anti-Asian hate crime bill as a response to this rise of hate crimes against Asians. The question now becomes, as posed by Venerable Thầy Huyền Diệu, where did this virus come from? What is the cause? And secondarily, what should we do about the tremendous toll it is now taking, for example, in India? First, it is important to understand where this virus came from. Yes, we have all heard reports that it came from Wuhan, China, but more importantly, we need to see its origins from animals. The COVID-19 pandemic laid bare our broken relationship with nature. Our global economy, consumption patterns, and production systems not only endanger nature, but our own well-being. The pandemic is a warning sign. Failing to care for the planet, for forests, and for biodiversity means not taking care of ourselves. Tropical deforestation and destruction of wildlife habitat create the conditions for the emergence of new diseases to which humans have little resistance and which can become the basis for pandemics. Human encroachment into tropical forests driven by land conversion for agriculture and demand for commodities like beef, soy, and palm oil is leading to animal-to-human interactions that did not previously exist, enabling pathogens once found only in animals to jump to human hosts. COVID-19, like Ebola, SARS, avian flu, and other recent epidemics, is an infectious disease that originated from animals. And this COVID-19 pandemic and the potential for future pandemics are closely tied to deforestation, habitat loss, and ecosystem decline, and the many ways that humanity is mismanaging nature. Zoonotic diseases, as these animal-to-human transfers are called, are infectious diseases that jump from animals to humans and pose a serious threat to human health, representing more than 60% of all infectious diseases in humans. Recent surge of infectious diseases that have animal origins have been identified not only as COVID-19, but SARS, swine flu, avian flu, Zika, Ebola, and others because of animal to human pathogenic transfers. And I should also indicate HIV/AIDS. The question arises, what is the connection between this deforestation and the mismanagement of our ecosystem? The COVID-19 pandemic and the risk of future pandemics are closely tied together because the loss of our forests is connected in several ways to these zoonotic diseases. They have generated the habitat fragmentation, forest fires, and all stemming from this incursion into animal territories, the loss of our biodiversity, and the tremendous wildlife trade. As forest defragmentation increases and forest edges grow, the likelihood of disease transmission through animal-wildlife contact also grows. And we must know of the vulnerability of indigenous people and forest communities and the challenges that indigenous people face as guardians of the planet's rainforests are aggravated by the threat of disease outbreaks as illegal loggers, miners, and others encroach onto their lands and territories. Infectious diseases like coronaviruses pose a grave health threat to indigenous peoples around the world, and they are particularly vulnerable to external diseases and tend to have poor access to healthcare and essential services. The challenges facing them during the COVID-19 pandemic are at once a human rights and public health issue, as well as an environmental crisis. Any threat to the health, safety, and well-being of indigenous peoples is a threat to rainforest health and to the health of the planet. Now you can obtain more detailed information about what I have been referring to in this document called the Issue Primer and which you can find. It is how protecting tropical forests can prevent coronaviruses and other emerging diseases. And this document was generated by the UN Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. And you can find this document as well as its important resource guide on forest protection on the website of the International Academy of Multicultural Cooperation, of which I am the president and founder, as well as the UN's Interfaith Rainforest Initiative website. So I highly commend you to please visit these websites, and the URL addresses will be placed in the chat box for your reference. The second question is, what about the situation is in India? As we all know, this situation has become quite serious and is at a crisis level in India. And we know that India has the world's second largest population with over 1,006,300,000 plus people, with the first, of course, being China with 1,268,301 plus people. How is it that China, with more people, experienced greater success with controlling the virus that was attributed to having been originated in that country? Well, they were very strict about requiring masks, hand sanitizers, temperature checks 3 times a day. And the average for millions of school children in China, as the country where this virus originated, has declared early on, because of its strict lockdown measures of conquering the virus successfully. So these strict overnight measures helped more than 240 million students from kindergarten to university return to class in September of last year, according to the country's education ministry. And for students, they all understood it's the practice we use to keep them safe at school, so they allowed it to happen. But such successes is possible only through restrictions on what we perceive in the United States as our individual freedoms. And have not been well tolerated in the US or other democracies. And of course, India is considered to be one of the world's largest democracies. In the strict lockdown in Wuhan, China, where this virus purportedly emerged in January of last year, authorities often took draconian measures to stop people from entering the country or leaving. And reports indicated very strong compliance by the people with the measures that were required of them by the government. And the memory of the 2002 SARS epidemic, which killed nearly 800 people and led to economic damage, made the Chinese people more likely to wear masks and socially distance early on during this year's outbreak. At the outset of the COVID outbreak, this strict lockdown did play a crucial role in buying other parts of the country's precious time to activate their public health responses, preventing a surge of cases. India, which seemed initially to have great success in keeping the pandemic at bay by a nationwide lockdown, started to see large political rallies and gatherings taking place, including one of the world's largest religious festivals, where people from all over the subcontinent and the world converge in Hardwar, India. Today, India set another daily global record of new cases, with more than 400,000 new cases and 3,500 deaths. And they feel that the officials actually have undercounted the number of COVID cases. And less than 2% of the country is fully vaccinated, with just under 150 million doses administered. With oxygen in short supply at medical facilities, patients are literally gasping for breath, and their families, overwhelmed by grief and helplessness, are running frantically to obtain oxygen themselves. And this week, the US sent supplies to the country, including rapid tests, N95 masks, and oxygen cylinders. So we have found that more medical facilities are overwhelmed, and we must follow the guidelines for public safety reasons and wear masks, social distance, and know that as tedious as this lockdown may be, we must also think about the safety of others and not jeopardize other people's health. And on Tuesday, there will be a prevention of flights coming in from India to the United States. And we now have vaccines developed, and this is the advancement of science to develop them relatively quickly. And we must ensure that everyone has received these vaccines, which were developed in a record time. So the pandemic has caused us to pause our busyness in daily activities and become more reflective and contemplative about the meaning of life. And many persons accelerated their spiritual practices of meditation and sitting in the silence. It has also caused more people to find ways in which to support those in need and to practice selflessness to share and to help others. I know this wonderful lady who has been on the phone calling places as far away as China to see how she can acquire oxygen machines to send to India. She lives in New York City, and she was originally from India and has many friends and family members who are stricken by this pandemic. She said to me, "My efforts are just a tiny drop in the large ocean of neediness." But I shared with her it is really her heart of compassion and caring that is important, and that she is putting in effort to help those in need. And so too, these pandemics and all natural disasters and all challenges in life that make us vulnerable call for all of us to step forward and to feel the need to demonstrate our capacity to have compassion, caring, and love for our sisters and brothers all around the world. And this is the lesson that we have learned from this pandemic, to demonstrate our ability to practice selflessness and to cultivate our heart of devotion more and more in the practice of seva, selfless service, devotional service, to the one great creator of all there is. So thank you so much for this opportunity and privilege to share today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Human Divine Mother. It's a suggestion, and I think you have seen the presentation of Divine Mother is very clear. Now the big problem, how we convince the people, especially the world leaders, political leaders, to understand, to accept the reality, then the problem can be solved. That is the, I think, biggest lesson and biggest problem. Now I think you see from more than 1 year, the people know if the people, or we say the leaders, sincere, honestly, work together, I think the problem can be solved. But they don't say. When we are sick headache, they say, oh, we have a problem stomach. And then they try to criticize each other, to blame each other, and create the hate each other. Then the problem can be solved. So I'm very much thankful to your presentation. Now I would like to invite Professor Mirinan Chakma from India, from Kolkata. Now also the problem is very serious. So we would like to invite you share your idea. Mirinan Chakma, you are listening? Oh, and anybody from New Delhi or India? Their problem communication, you see. So Thầy Huyen, would you like to share some of your idea?
Hello, Master. Huyền Diệu here. Hello, Divine Mother, Human, and anybody. I have one some question. I would like to ask the Divine Mother. You know, I read in a newspaper about India. I feel very, very sad because I think that many people die. What do you think about pandemic happening in India and around the world? Did human, you think did human correct die virus? Do you have any solution to have prevent pandemic country from developing in the new future? Yeah.
Excuse me. As I had shared throughout my presentation today, that these problems, that the outgrowth of this pandemic actually has its origination in the animal to human transfers as a direct result of our mismanagement of the environment. And this mismanagement has caused the destruction of our very important rainforests. We have participated in a wildlife trade. We have, torn down, especially in the Amazon, acres of precious rainforests so that we could have raised cattle, beef for human consumption, because there's a demand for beef, for planting of palm oil and palm trees that would generate palm oil that is used extensively in many products, in food sources, and in cultivating soybeans and many crops at the price of destroying our rainforests. As a consequence, as we have incurred going more and more into these lands where it was very rare to have this kind of interaction with animals, our incursion into their homes, so to speak, have created the jump of these pathogens from animals to humans. Therefore, our direct participation in the world in such a unmindful way has caused these pandemics, this jump. So from animals to humans. Therefore, it is really a warning that unless we remedy our behaviors, the human beings now have become the world's greatest super predators. And we have created those situations that have caused increases in these viruses, these pandemics. And also the political situation, which, Venerable Thầy Huyền Diệu had mentioned in his question, how do we convince the political leaders to understand and accept the reality? Then only can the problem be solved. In many ways, the political leaders allow this kind of mismanagement for the greater benefit of many multinational companies and private interests to be able to have greater profit margins, to make a lot of money, but it is at the expense of our ecosystems. We have lost millions of species that represent biodiversity that is very important for the flourishing of life on this planet. So we have to look to ourselves as a species Homo sapiens to ascertain that the problem began and lies with us. And therefore, the solution must also lie with us. As many countries have political leaders, and they may not always be representationally selected or elected, but many are. But there has been a trend towards authoritarianism, and many of countries have leadership that does not necessarily represent the totality of the population's best interest, but sometimes the best interests of the wealthy that perpetuates their wealth. And frankly, our whole financial infrastructure must be re-examined as we have determined that economic health, the measurement is by gross domestic production. But that is a flawed principle that we have not only adopted, but spread all around the world. Because gross domestic production has a false assumption that we can have infinite growth on limited resource. That limited resource is the earth. This limited resource can only have so much of its mines, the minerals from the earth, its precious metals and ore that we have extracted and oil mindlessly. And so, and left the people who live in these areas where there is great wealth in the earth, these people who actually have lived on the land for hundreds of years have become relegated to the world's poorest because they face environmental degradation. They do not benefit from any of the profit made. And as I traveled around the world, I have seen, like, for example, in Africa, they have, really, that's a continent that holds the world's wealthiest reserves of any kind of precious metal that you can think of. Coltan that drives all of our technologies, our cell phones, our computers, and, oil and uranium, platinum, gold, diamonds, you name it, Africa has it. And it has also relegated to the population, the indigenous people, the peoples of Africa, to become some of the poorest in the world. So you can see, just objectively studying this, how is it possible that people who were born and raised on the world's wealthiest continent should also have the world's poorest people? There is something wrong with that picture. So we have to have deeper analysis, the causation. We see the symptoms, we perceive the symptoms, but let us go to the cause. What is causing this? And the entire economic structures that we have created to so-called assist these poverty-stricken people in Africa has been to create debt structures. So they are laden with debt. And they cannot come out of this huge debt load that we have placed on them in exchange for the really paltry economic assistance that we provide to them, the so-called aid and grants and all those things that we perceive as being helpful to them. But they in reality are not benefiting from the fact that if we were very honest in our analysis, we would see that the world's wealthiest people, in terms of what they actually own of the land that they have been, living on for hundreds and from the beginning of time, should not also be the world's poorest. So who is in there extracting all of this wealth and leaving the people impoverished? And it doesn't take, a genius to just figure it out, see with your own eyes what's happening. And the many, many countries that are in Africa that's extracting the copper, the gold, the oil, the diamonds, and all of that. These things that we hold precious in terms of material wealth. But there is a deep spiritual poverty that is taking place because there is the karmic law. And we cannot ruin people's lives and leave them in misery so that we can have untold wealth. But in the United States as well, we can see what has happened. As fewer and fewer people become immensely wealthy, and there are few people who became super wealthy during the pandemic. When there is misery that creates that people can really, experience such huge wealth on the backs of those that suffer, there's something very, very wrong going on here. So there is predatory practices in many of our financial economic systems that we have set up. And we really need to analyze whether or not these flawed policies that we have created actually lead to human security and well-being. And I will have you consider that perhaps it has not, because there's so many people who are the middle class in America is disappearing. And you are having the growing masses of the poor and this disparity. So the fulcrum point, the point of balance of the middle class is disappearing. So we are becoming imbalanced with super wealthy people and super poor people. So there needs to be much correction that takes place. And that does have a lot to do with the political will of the leaders, as well as the policies that are created. And in, countries where they elect their leaders, we must be very, very careful who we are putting into power to lead the country. Even though there are term limits, it can create devastating consequences. as we have seen just in 4 short years here in the US in a previous administration. So it takes Herculean effort to be able to create benefits to most of the people, but it also, governments are run by individuals, corporations are run by individuals, and ultimately every institution that you can examine is run by individuals, human beings, and therefore we can never escape our ultimate responsibility to undertake our highest duty, which is to develop ourselves as spiritual beings, to build our inner character, and to really pay attention to the great sacred texts that always teach us how we must live life in accordance with the universal spiritual laws of love, peace, harmony, and joy. And that comes about from mindfulness of others, not causing harm in thought, word, or action, and to ensure that we have proper ethics, values, and standards of living that elevate not only our soul and our consciousness to the higher realms of spirituality, but that as we live our lives, the short time that we are here in this form and structure of the human body, that we maximize the privilege and opportunity to do so by leaving good footprints wherever we walk upon this earth. And may those footprints that we leave behind be the footprints of love, compassion, and kindness. And this, to become that person that can leave such footprints, takes the mastery of the self and the assiduous development of your inner spiritual life. This we must do as our contribution to the whole of the humanity as good, proper guardians and global citizens and guardians of the earth. The earth is a living being, and the earth is sacred, and all of life is sacred. And as with all things sacred, we must honor and respect that sacredness.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. My mother is wonderful. Before we have talking about the environment, I'm very happy to inform us the government of Vietnam, they have the vote in parliament. They promise within a short time, they will plant 1 billion trees on Vietnam. This is a very good news. I wish that every country do similar thing, then planet will be better and better. So now the best wish, how to convince political leaders. Human, you have the experience in United Nations many years and many organizations. Please, you find suitable solutions. How to convince them? I think let us try to find solution, because now they are very greedy. They don't believe in the karma. They want to collect more and more, and then create many problems. So would you kindly think to find the suitable formulas to convince them, sit together, and to save the planet? It seems to me I find Mr. Professor Mirinan Chakma. Would you kindly share some of your idea and how situation in India now? Please. You are the witness of the present situation. Please, you open micro.
Unmute it. Okay. Thank you for unmuting me. Yes, at the moment in India, the situation is very, very critical, very grave situation. Now, passions and fear are pulsating in all over the major cities in India. Everybody is afraid of this infection at the moment. And of course, in a remote area, the rate of infection is not that much. In the village area, it has become much more a city phenomenon at this stage. But the disease is very quickly spreading to district towns and from urban area to rural area. The fear is that it may get multiplied in the coming days because of election in certain states like West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam. So infrastructure is not very good at this stage. Healthcare facilities got totally exhausted. So people are afraid of it at the moment. But I appreciate very much, the speaker, madam, who had explained very nicely, the philosophical crisis, the spiritual poverty of our leadership globally without pointing to any individual. So this is highly essential that leaving our egos, leaving our, self-centric views, as a humanity, we should try our best with a deep sense of compassion, with a deep sense of eternity as a being. Madam, I like your idea that the art is a living things rather than a kind of inert object. We should view the environmental as well as our balance in terms of our economic distribution. So I like all your, each and every words of your lecture very much. Now, as you have pointed out very nicely about the entitlement of the indigenous and tribal community, in the northeastern state of India, as well as in many other peripheral regions, there are lots of tribal indigenous community who lack in access to healthcare facilities, proper economic support system, etc. So we are deeply concerned. But at this stage, many religious institutions, as we have mentioned about interfaith, in our regions, particularly Buddhist-dominated area in certain peripheral regions of Northeast, the monastic communities are helping a lot to mitigate the situation, to distributing foods, as well as providing some kind of support, and also giving the proper information how to protect themselves or save themselves from such kind of fatal infection. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. Dr. Lam is a very renowned person in our locality, in our society. Somehow we know him directly or indirectly as one of the very best kind-hearted person in propagating and teaching the Dhamma and a spirituality in our community. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Professor Miriam Chakma. Please consider me like just a simple chowkidar.
No. You are the most respectful, venerable person in our society.
I don't want to be renowned, unknown people, but I like to do something. So it's a wonderful contribution. So now the time also not remain much. We would like to invite others, people, many speakers, and those want to give some idea, practical idea. Today, like the Divine Mothers, and you have give the very clear picture, a very clear formula to solve the problem. But now, my most designing how we convince the leader and convince the people work together. That is very important. We should not be the NATO. You know the NATO? Not North Atlantic Treaty, NATO, but generally the international conference or local conference. People seize together, make big celebration, but no action, talking only. Yeah, therefore I'm telling you, we should not be the member of NATO. Talking. Every year, even many, I don't want to mention the name, internet organization, they spend $1 million talking about environment, saving planet, but only talking. You see, recently there's one of the highest conference from top leaders about climate change. And what happened? Talking and good eating, drinking, dancing, and then people dying. So please remember, we should not member of the NATO, okay? NATO, yeah. No action, talking only. I like very much. We should action. So now, any speaker give the suggestion? Now I think the idea, Divine Mother, human, very clear. So now I very much like how we apply good formula to save planet, and how we convene the political leader. You see, very clear, even now. People just say the Z convict, but I'm telling you, if the world leaders not sincerely honest, the 19 convict 19, there will be another form in the future, very serious. No medicine can cure them, but that's one. But by honesty, by protection of environment, this is the best medicine. Honesty, sincerity. I don't want to tell more about the truth. If we more telling, we will be more suffering. Anybody? And it seems to be they have the Thầy Trân Nguyên from France. Would you like to share some your idea?
Dạ thưa thầy, con có thể nói mà nhờ người thông dịch được không?
Ông nói mà ngắn gọn rồi. Ok,
Dạ.
bây giờ có anh Tuấn hả? Gì đó thông dịch. Mà mình nói trong này nói những cái chuyện gì cụ thể, nha. Rồi.
Đó là thầy.
There's Tony too. She want to give some idea and contribution. Ok, Tương nói. Bây giờ phần lớn ở đây là các nhà khoa học. Rồi nói đi.
Nói là con đã cảm ơn cái bà coi như cách qua cao hoặc là bà chia sẻ rất là cặn kẽ, nhưng mà chúng ta còn nghèo nàn về tâm linh dữ lắm. Bệnh dịch này nó xảy ra từ tâm linh chứ không phải là từ con người hay là động vật. Ok, dịch đi.
Yeah. Mr. Tony Chung said that the Divine Mother is very wonderful in sharing. And also he said that the people very poor spirits, the people very, very poor, because the COVID pandemic is come from the bad action, from the bad actions people, not from the animals. Now, please.
Và đồng thời cái này nó không phải đổ thừa cho những nhà lãnh đạo hay là những con người sống ở trên mặt đất này, mà nó thuộc về lực của vô hình, nó thuộc về tâm linh rồi. Ok, dịch đi.
Yeah, this pandemic is come from invisible world. It come from invisible world. It's not come from in the I don't know how to say in English the word nouns. Yeah, the living now about this pandemic is come from the invisible world. Yes. Now please.
Bây giờ trên thế giới này rất nhiều quốc gia, 190 mấy quốc gia, nhưng mà được bao nhiêu quốc gia đi theo bao nhiêu tôn giáo, nhưng mà bao nhiêu tôn giáo có khả năng gì để giúp cho thế giới này? Thành ra mình phải có một sự đồng tâm hợp lực và cùng chung một ý mình mới có thể giải quyết vấn đề Covid và vấn đề chiến tranh.
Now there are more than around 200 countries and territory in the world. It has also many religions. So, which religion can save people now? He said that all the religion and all the countries should cooperation, close cooperation, in harmonize and to get over the pandemic. Okay.
Bây giờ thí dụ tôi muốn lấy lên một cái điển hình như thí dụ một quốc gia của Hoa Kỳ hoặc là của India hay là của China mà mình đồng tâm hợp lực lại, mình bỏ hết những chuyện riêng tư của cá nhân của quốc gia mình, mà mình đồng tâm hợp lực, mình chia sẻ về vấn đề tâm linh cho cái thế giới này, thì tôi nghĩ rằng nó sẽ có một sự thay đổi rất lớn cho vấn đề Covid-19 và đồng thời chiến tranh.
For example, if China or USA, all the people in the USA and the China cooperation to worship or to praise, for example, something like that.
Ấn Độ nữa.
Yeah, the people in the stop the war on the stop the pandemic.
Bởi vì tất cả con người sống trên mặt đất này, mình chỉ nghĩ riêng cho chính mình thôi, chứ mình chưa bao giờ nghĩ chung cho một cái quốc gia hay là một cái thế giới. Thành ra từ chỗ đó nó bị lạc lõng, rồi cái sự thành tựu của tâm linh không có, cái lực nó không có đủ lực để nó đẩy lùi hết tất cả những các thứ bệnh dịch về vấn đề tâm linh. Mà cái Covid-19 này tôi cũng cho biết là nó thuộc về tâm linh chứ không phải về hữu hình đâu. Nhưng mà cái sự lây lan truyền nhiễm do con người ta không đủ tinh thần, không đủ lực, rồi dịch đi.
Yeah. Here repeat again about the COVID-19 is come from the invisible, unseen world. People very poor about the spirits. People don't believe, and people very selfish. They always think yourself or don't think for others. Now, please.
Tất cả chúng tôi là những người thấp cổ bé miệng, thành ra không có tiếng nói lớn, không có nhìn xa được. Và đồng thời muốn, nếu như bà có được một cái khả năng và giúp cho cái thế giới này có sự thay đổi, giống như bà lan truyền ra, bà có một cái lời nói rất là mạnh mẽ về vấn đề hữu hình hoặc là về tâm linh, rồi chúng tôi cũng follow bà, tức là đi theo bà để cùng nhau đi tới con đường này, nhờ bà giúp đỡ cho trên thế giới này, gửi cho tất cả các vị lãnh đạo của các quốc gia trên thế giới từ thấp đến cao, và đồng thời trong cái phái đoàn của Hội đồng Liên Hiệp Quốc có tiếng nói lên kêu gọi tất cả mọi người trên thế giới này dịch để thôi hồi nó quên.
Yeah. He said that he understands the root cause of pandemic, but he have no power as a divine mother. He thinks that divine mother can do that. Divine mother have a power. He can persuade or convince the United Nations and the political leaders. So he hoped that divine mother will do something to spread the message for the leaders. Yeah.
Sorry, you have seen. I'm not a fortune teller.
Yeah.
I'm not. I told you so many years ago.
Yeah.
But you are my student. You did not listen. What happened? You was in Vietnam only short time. I touched a million people now. That's spiritual person. So hopefully you consented. Yeah.
Yes.
She was Divine Mother. She was a first lady, first woman, the chairman of world leader.
Yeah.
But I told you many times, many years ago. Now a little story. When I had a problem working peace in Nepal, I pray, send she come. She help me, and she stay in the 5-star hotel. Then I request her, she come to stay in Vietnam temple, and every day must go from Vietnam temple and go to the Ashoka play praise. She did regularly. And at last is very interesting, unseen hand. Therefore, in our life, sometimes unseen hand told us many wonderful secrets, but people do not understand. So you see today one person, he also very well-known person in Vietnamese community. She understand, and I suggest you should finish your book about the peace environment, and you can have capacity. You can convince the world leader. And the unseen hand lock the door, the room where you say. Because your famous student was with you. If I lock you in the room, then I supply food and your book finished. But I'm afraid if I lock you, then they inform police that they have problem. Many thousand people stay in that room. Nobody lock the room, not locked like you. So now, many years. So now, please, for this occasion, try to finish your book. And you release at Huyen and translate your idea in different languages. So this is the best way. Please don't waste the time. Follow the order of the unseen hand. You don't follow the political leader, your student. Why you follow the? I told you, religious parliament leader. They cannot compare with you. Why you waste a lot of time with them? Okay. Okay. Now is it very clear? Would you like anybody want to have the idea, contribution about how to solve the problem? It's very simple, but nobody interested. Oxygen, you see, when we was born, oxygen is ready. No need to pay. No oxygen, we cannot die. But people destroy oxygen. And now we need the oxygen, but no oxygen come. That is our mistake. Yeah. Oxygen is very important. Okay. But people destroy oxygen, destroy environment.
Thưa thầy, cho con nói tiếp thêm mấy câu nữa.
Rồi, nãy giờ rồi.
Cái nhìn lại đi, ngay bây giờ cái thời gian cách đây 2 tuần lễ trở lại đây đi thì bà nhìn lại cái India, cái quốc gia của Ấn Độ. Tại sao người ta có không khí thiên nhiên không sử dụng mà cần phải có oxygen? Bởi vì cái sự bình đẳng giống như nhau, ai cũng cần cái thế không khí. Mà khi xảy ra chuyện rồi thì mình đổ thừa là mình không đủ oxygen, mình không có đủ năng lượng để mình thở. Cái đó nó thuộc về tâm linh chứ không phải về hữu hình. Ok, dịch đi.
Yeah. We around the nearly week, the recent 2 weeks, we see the people in India is very, very serious, seriously affected. The people must use oxygen, not oxygen from natural, but oxygen from from produced. So we can see that it is something the unbalance in their life. Okay.
Và đồng thời cũng thưa với bà rằng đây là thuộc về cân bằng của vũ trụ. Con người nghèo khổ trong cái quốc gia nghèo khổ, nó thường xảy ra những chuyện chết nhiều hơn là cái con người sống ở quốc gia có tự do, có được nhiều tiền của, thì họ có thể cover được, họ bảo đảm được điều này điều khác. Nhưng còn đối với cái quốc gia này họ quá nghèo khổ. Nhưng mà tại sao họ lại chết? Mà họ không chết. Người giàu cũng chết chứ không phải người nghèo chết không đâu. Nhưng mà từ chỗ nghèo giàu như vậy mình thấy nó không có phân biệt. Có nghĩa là ai rồi cũng phải chết. Thành ra con người ta cần phải có một cái sự đạo đức tu hành để người ta tiến hóa. Cái thứ nhất là về linh hồn, cái thứ hai nữa phát triển về tâm linh để cứu cái thế giới này. Nếu như cái thế giới này không có tâm linh thì thế giới này sẽ đi về đâu? Bởi vì cái lực vô hình nó mạnh không thể tưởng tượng. Ok, dịch em.
The belief is very, very important for the people in the world. People should have belief. If people have no belief, that means it's a terrible life. So people should something believe on God or believe on the Buddha. Yeah.
Thì đồng thời xin thưa với bà rằng bà nhìn lại coi tất cả trên quả địa cầu này có bao nhiêu tôn giáo, và tất cả tôn giáo nào làm được cái gì, tôn giáo nào đúng, tôn giáo nào sai, không phân biệt được. Tại vì tôn giáo nào cũng nói tôi đúng hết, không có tôn giáo nào nói tôi sai. Và đồng thời khi mà xảy ra trận dịch Covid-19 này rồi thì tôn giáo nào cũng bị đóng cửa hết, không có tôn giáo nào được mở cửa hết. Vậy chỗ nào đúng và chỗ nào sai, xin thưa bà. Dịch.
Bác có thể tóm tắt ngắn gọn được hơn không ạ? Bác chốt lại một vài câu thật ngắn gọn thôi để xúc tích cái chiến dịch cho nó dễ.
Thì bây giờ nói, xin thưa bà, vấn đề tôn giáo thì bây giờ tất cả các tôn giáo trên thế giới này có tôn giáo nào làm đúng mà có tôn giáo nào làm sai, xin thưa bà cho biết.
We want to ask Divine Mother. Now there are many religions in the world, such as Buddhist, Catholics, Protestant, Islamic, and he want to ask you, what is the best religion? Okay.
Rồi tôn giáo nào nói tôi đúng
question thì... for Divine Mother. Yeah.
Tôn giáo
bác
nào
nói tôi để bà ấy trả lời đó bác.
Như vậy thì tất cả tôn giáo đúng hết thì tại sao nó lại xảy ra đau khổ cho con người? Tại sao có bệnh dịch như thế này? Và đồng thời bao nhiêu con người ta sống trên thế giới này, mỗi người một ý. Bây giờ mình cùng chung đau lưng góp sức rồi mỗi một quốc gia mình tâm linh.
Bây giờ thầy nói thế này, excuse me. He put the question like now on the supermarket. So many food, so many products. Okay? And every product, they say, oh, it's wonderful. It's delicious. But if we eat, only when we eat, then we can feel it's good or not. Isn't it? So many drink now on the market. On the market. But really, if we drink, it's a big problem. But people know, but people dare not to say the truth. Thôi nói bây giờ thấy nè, bây giờ nói excuse me, I talk. Bây giờ vấn đề tôn giáo là cái vấn đề rất là nhạy cảm. Thì bây giờ mỗi người mình tự cảm thấy bây giờ đụng ra cái chuyện này giống như đụng cái đống lửa nha. Thành ra I think the religion we do not just the religion, but we are human being try to understand what is good, what is not good. So we I'm a spiritual person. I respect all the religion, but I don't want to touch about their own religion. It's very complicated. Yeah.
Con cũng nghĩ như thầy đấy.
Divine Mother, Huyen, you have any suggestion? Now, I think the most important for us, how we find the suitable and practical formula to solve the problem. Particular with your position, how we convince the world leaders sit together to do some good thing for. Only one thing I'm very much like how to convince them, all of them should believe the law of the karma. If they believe the law of the karma, many things problem will be solved. This is very important. So now you have internet experience. So now we don't talk much. Let us think how I invite them together. Or we invite even one by one. We cook good food, good drink for them. If they like, you open the music for their dancing, and after that they change their mind. I think the peace will come.
Dạ thưa thầy, cho con nói không nói vấn đề tôn giáo nữa. Bây giờ con nói bây giờ chúng ta ngừng bỏ cái khúc tôn giáo đó đi. Bây giờ chúng ta phải cùng nhau hợp sức hướng về tâm linh.
Không thì bây giờ nãy giờ thầy đang nói nè. Bây giờ thầy đang nói nè. Bây giờ ông gắng ông nghe. Thầy đang nói cái mục đích của mình bây giờ mình rõ rồi. Bây giờ làm sao thuyết phục các lãnh đạo thế giới ngồi lại với nhau. Nãy giờ là thầy đang nói cái ý của ông đó. Ông chưa nói là thầy đã biết rồi đó. You see, what he want to say, I explain. Now the most important, now you see, like in the Lotus Sutra, Sattama Baranika, they are in the burning house. Okay? You are like the mother, the father. How you convince them go out? If they go out, then they are alive. Yeah,
so thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'd like to address Mr. Troy Tong's question that he had previously posed as to which is the best religion. Yes, there are many religions and many adherents to the different religions. And most of the world's population are believers. They believe in some religion. So that's over 84% of the world's population are believers. So with so many people being believers of a religion or several religions, how is it that we could have so many challenges in life that arise out of our own behavior? So I want to share this beautiful ancient hymn that talks about all the different pathways. And it goes like this: as the different streams having their sources in different places, all mingle their water in the sea. So, O Lord, the different paths which men take through various tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. So each person will follow that sacred journey according to their own inner tendencies and what they find is most suitable for the inner development of their spiritual lives. And therefore, we don't get into the mentations of which is the better, the best, the highest, the goodest religion in the world, because all these different sacred pathways will ultimately take us to the one great source, the divine creator of all there is. Now, as we try to find solutions to the world's problems, we must realize this one essential truth that Lord Buddha had shared with us hundreds of years ago. The external world is impermanent. Therefore, you can have peace one day and war the next. You can have war one day and peace the next. Throughout the long march of human history, all things that we experience, whether of our body that will go back to dust, of the beautiful buildings that we may build that will eventually also crumble and go back to dust. Anything with form and structure in the manifest world will eventually go back to dust. And therefore, all is impermanent. Even though we may want to hang on to this life in this form and structure to which we have become attached, the day will come when we will have to release this form and structure. However, while we are in this form and structure, and we have been given the privilege of human birth, we must do our best to be all the things that will represent the universal laws, as I had shared earlier, of love, peace, harmony, and joy. And if the manifestation of our good hearts, which has come about through the purification of our minds and hearts, through our assiduous spiritual practice, and the sincere desire to develop ourselves as elevated souls that can be conduits to help to bring peace, compassion, and help to those in need, and to alleviate the suffering in whatever way we can, then we can say that we have done our best. However, we must also remember that Lord Buddha said, our attachment causes the suffering. We are entitled to the works, but the fruits of our works belong to the divine creator of all there is. We can only do the best that we can do within our capabilities. but the results ultimately belong to the divine creator of all there is. And therefore, in this non-attachment, we free ourselves from suffering so that we don't try to seek to create those things to which we become attached that will one day have to change. So let us not become attached to anything, whether good or bad, the happy or sad. And as I have shared in the last 2 presentations which I have given, I shared about my beautiful spiritual mother and that spiritual master who indicated that she could be neither happy nor sad. What was she expressing? That she had reached the state of pure and perfect transcendence, a state of homeostasis in which she is beyond the pairs of opposites of good or bad or happy or sad. In creation, the pairs of opposites always exist side by side. For every joy, there is suffering. So when you have the privilege, as I have had, to be in the company of a truly enlightened master, to witness this perfect homeostasis, that perfect equilibrium, beyond which she is removed from the pairs of opposites. May we all be blessed to reach that state. And that is the ultimate goal of our sacred journey, to be in perfect balance of body, mind, and spirit, that we may attain to our true purpose in life, which is God realization. The realization that the sacred life that you have been given comes from that divine source. And at all times on our sacred journey, even though we may have been in ignorance, we did not understand that we were from the beginning, as we will be at the end, and always through all of eternity, one with the divine creator of all there is. Therefore, in the back of it, no matter what life's challenges may pose to you, be at peace in your heart, knowing that we always are one with that divine source, that pure and perfect energy is the energy of love, pure and perfect love. I will also say that I have had the privilege to experience and authenticate that that divine love is so unspeakably beautiful, so pure and perfect, that there is no language anywhere in the world that can correctly and accurately identify it in any words. It must be experienced, and truly, this experience can be yours, just as I have experienced it. So let your hearts be settled in knowing that this will ultimately lead you to that pure and perfect source. Whether we take the tendencies crooked or straight as they may appear, we will all return to the one great source, the creator of all there is. How wonderful to know that we are always one with that divine source, never apart from it. So, you know, there is this beautiful, beautiful psalm in the Bible, and it goes like this. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me lie, he maketh me lead to green, he leadeth me to green pastures. He maketh me lie beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leads me on the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. How beautiful is that when we think that no matter what life's challenges may be, the divine presence is always with us, ever ready to comfort us, to give us peace, to restore our soul in the light of the many challenges, in that pure and perfect love that is always there. So rest assured that no matter what the external challenges may be, all is impermanent. And as Shakespeare said, this too shall pass. So how beautiful it is to know these truths, these eternal truths, and to know that at the end of our journey in life, our goal will ultimately lead us to the realization of our oneness with the divine. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any suggestion? Now we have more than 1 hour already, 1 and 20 minutes. Very short. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Can I have a question?
Yes, please.
Yes, the last time, Divine Mother also talked about the word for speaking. The word very, very important. It's very interesting. I think in the Buddhistic teaching or the Catholic teaching also about the word. Word is not only the language we use to speak and we use for writing. It is something beyond our understanding. It has a special power, I think so. Because in the Bible, the God also, the beginning of the word have been already. And in the Buddhist, the Buddha teaches us, don't use the terrible word for the other people. We choose loving words for the people. That means, I think the word very, very, very important. But I don't understand why. But it's maybe it beyond people understand that. So I think what that means prayers. We should pray very, very important. And who is Mr. Master Huyen, I think so. You orchestrating orchestrating us to prayer for the world. Yeah. I don't think we convince the political leader. We convince someone to train their mind. I don't think so. But praying is very, very important. Praying, that means we must use word, a good word, special words. Because I think.
Okay.
I
get your point.
Master Viễn can do that. You are control. We are orchestrating. We choose sometime in the future, all of us together to pray, to pray for the people and for the world, for the India and for the every. We don't discuss about religion. I'm very sorry for Mr. Cheung, Mr. Tony Cheung. It's very sensitive about the religion. If we ask which religion is good, yes, that means the war occur already.
Yes.
That means something is not good. We don't care about that. We care about the loving, the compassioning, the forgiveness, and something the good words for each other. We communicate by the loving, by the words.
Yeah.
Special words.
Yeah. Thank you. Your contribution. I think we pray together. We are family. We are same planet. So let us together. We pray and we share the secret. So my idea now, we are brother, sister. We are same family. So let's together. Now, for example, in India, we all together pray for India.
Yeah.
And not only China, every country on the planet, we are same family. Particularly, ladies should realize the truth. Then the peace will come and good condition come. And my idea, like this one, every other we pray in different way, but in the right way. We send out energy to them, and then one day we sit together. You see, for example, I saw many difficulties in my life, particular conflict and the war, due to this method.
Yes.
But now let us work together. I agree with you. Yeah, sincerely, honestly. But now I told you all of them, they are in the burning house. They are very happy in burning house. So how we can win them, go out, then their life will be safe. That is the question and my wishes. I like very much all of us try to find suitable solution. We don't talk much about spirituality. Even that is true. But now you see many political leaders, whenever we talk about religion, spirituality, and they're much very afraid. They're very much afraid. Because when they look at us, we talk about this thing, they think we need title, we need their money, and they run away. You get my point? So we respect all the religion, but must find the right way. Thank you. You have any question? Now let us continue our praying, our wishes for India, for China, for all the world. And let us try think seriously, find reasonable formula or the method how to bring the leader together. I need your help. I need your praying or blessing. Thank you very much for participating today. And then I hope next time, let's again. And slowly the suitable solution will come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Master Huyền Diệu and Divine Mother and all the participants.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And Divine Mother, I would like to tell again, Huyen, your role is very important. But please now you concentrate. We are very grateful because you are close with the world leader and your voice also they listen. So I repeat again, try bring them together. Those who want to good food, then you cook good food for them. And their mind is crazy. And after that, taking your food, then their mind will come and the peace come. and your house very close Obama. and many leaders in America, very important, including former President Trump. He should become your children, your students. And you cook good food and good drink for them, and their mind change. You see, very interesting, very interesting. Yeah. It seems to be you are from Hawaii. Origin from Hawaii is a very beautiful island, paradise. It seems to be your home, your place in Obama, not far, isn't it? So please convey my invitation to come to Lumini or to Himalaya and take rest for a few days and take good energy, because I think those people is very, very important. Yeah. Now, if the President Trump, very interesting. You see, like Ashoka, he was a cruel king. When he come to the Holy Land, he meet the master, then he changed the mind, then peace throughout the world. Yeah. So you say like Prachanda, when you was in Nepal, when Prachanda come to Lumini and they purify and they go back Kathmandu and they lay out the arm. It's a wonderful. So now they need oxygen. They need what we call spiritual oxygen. So please you try to produce more oxygen Thank you very much. Hope to see you next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nam mô Quan Thế Bồ Tát. Yeah. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Mr. Dieu.